This next question, Jim, sent to CornyDriveThru at gmail.com, is from Ryan. Back when Kayfabe was still upheld, wrestlers went to great lengths to protect the business. I've heard many stories on the drive-thru and the experience describing such lengths. But I was curious if that extended to funerals. Were they private enough that it usually didn't matter? Did anyone ever take it that far? Or were the wrestlers simply old enough or retired by that point that it wouldn't be noticed? So kayfabing funerals, Jim, what are your thoughts? Did it happen and when?
Well, it obviously did happen. You know, I'm not going to, okay, well, the notes I took at so-and-so's funeral and indicates that so-and-so were here. Yes, it's happened and it's not happened. It depends on who was involved. I personally have kayfabed every wrestling funeral because, except for Bobby Eaton's, I haven't been to any, which goes along with all the other funerals that I haven't been to in my life. Bobby Eaton's was the first person that wasn't a actual close blood relative that I ever went to a funeral in my life, except for one other time, and I won't even mention the person, but it was a person that was a loved one of a person that I knew and liked. So I've been to like 6 in my life. One every 10 years. So in some cases, yes, it wouldn't be right, especially in the territory days, for a guy to show up, you know, if there were fans around or just whatever. In other cases, that was something that, you know, well, you still had to go. I don't know whether Ron Wright went to Whitey Caldwell's funeral. That would have been the big test. And then again, a lot of until modern times, if you're going to a wrestler's funeral, he either was killed in a car wreck or he was old and retired. And so, you know, the retirement and et cetera, then it became more of a Cauliflower Alley Club thing and not guys that were actively on television trying to cut each other's heads off, you know, going to the funeral. And then in modern times, it hasn't made as much of a difference. But we'll recall again the story in Brian Solomon's book, Blood and Fire, that's on sale. I think still on back order because everybody tried to get their copy. The Sheik's funeral service, the preacher actually gave his real name, given name, one time at the beginning and called him Sheik thereafter. There was an element of kayfabe even in the funerals back then. So it just, again, it depended on who it was, where it was, what it was, how public it was, and what everybody's mindset was at the time over what had happened.
When I was younger, I always I don't want to say I really liked to watch because that sounds kind of morbid, but I always found it intriguing to watch footage of David Von Erich's funeral service. Not inside, there was no cameras there that I saw, but the outside. All the fans lined up and you'd see Ric Flair show up.
Yeah.
And that was always interesting, but to me, that wasn't busting kayfabe. It was almost like, yeah, I'm the NWA World Champion, yeah, I'm a heel, but I'm a professional athlete and this is the right thing to do. And I think it kind of worked in that way.
And of course, there's the Fritz and everybody in those days wanting to get the most out of everything. That's why they shot it. Because look, my boy, our brother, whatever, the Von Erich family has such power and prestige and respect in the wrestling business that all the dignitaries came in from, Flair came representing the NWA World Championship. And who was there from Japan? Somebody was there. I'm trying to remember who. But the point is, it was a worldwide thing. And it made the coverage. I wasn't in Dallas yet when David died, but the TV was, being syndicated at that point. And inside the business, we heard about it, but you saw the clips, the footage of thousands of people outside the funeral home. Just like thousands of people had jammed the switchboard, the front page of the Dallas Times Herald, and the whole nine. It was huge news. So everybody, that was a thing that was bigger than just kayfabe in a territory and a local guy passed away. That was, Dallas stopped for that. And so everybody they weren't thinking about kayfabe. It was an international, gathering on the death of could have been a fucking statesman or politician. It wouldn't have got that much attention.
It was almost like the news media had to catch up to what was actually happening on the street. They didn't realize just how big the Von Erichs were at that moment, especially with a young audience.
That's when they all figured out in Dallas, the TV stations, the radio stations, the newspapers, because for the first day or two, I think at first it didn't even get covered, and then it got a little blurb. And then they started noticing, well, the hospitals hiring security and shutting their phones down, and there's people in the fucking streets. And there are flower bouquets and people crying at the mall for no apparent reason. What's going on? Oh, shit, it was a wrestler. And then the floodgates open with the fucking publicity.